Morning, YouTube. I was going to do a series on solar power. I realized I probably would have been reinventing the wheel quite heavily. So I figured the next best thing would be to answer some basic questions that a lot of people have that really aren't well answered on YouTube. A lot of the people who try to answer them are not so knowledgeable. I don't claim to be the most knowledgeable person, but I do have some experience that I can share with people. I know that a lot of people around here, all around this great internet, don't have a ton of money. There's a lot of rich kids out there, but most of us are just the average Joe who probably doesn't even have $50,000 a year to spread around, but we want to get our feet wet in solar power, you know. So I can tell you some things about my experiences with it, and I can show you some things that have worked and some things that have failed stupendously. And really, not all things that I have really, I can say, failed stupendously. They all worked. It's just, what level of performance do you want to have? I mean, how good do you want it to work, you know? So I'll get started here in just a minute, and I'll show you some things that did and didn't work, and we'll get into it. And you'll have to excuse the background noise. I'm reconditioning a battery at the moment, trying to get it back from the dead. That's also things that you start doing when you start playing with solar power on a budget, is you try to get things back and running as best as possible. Sometimes you can salvage an old battery and the thing will work, and sometimes you won't. But anyway, also there's air conditioning. It's like in the mid-90s outside, and there's no way in hell I'm turning that air conditioner off right now. So anyway, I'll get to it. So anyway, my experience with solar, the beginnings. I used to play with solar on and off as an academic exercise. As a kid, I bought some of those little 5-watt battery saver modules you see in a lot of automotive places. Only at the time when I started playing with them, it wasn't widespread. It wasn't in widespread use, so I actually had to order from a place. Oh God, what was the name of it? It was out in Scottsdale, Arizona. I want to say, no, it wasn't Southwest. I forget what their name was, but anyway, you had to special order that stuff. So that was my first experience. I was powering radios and keyboards with it, and I thought it was pretty cool. I took the panels that I got and I put them outside the bedroom window, and I was running little stuff with it, you know. And it was pretty cool, you know. I got my feet wet that way, and the theory of solar power was very sound. I kind of saw it. I saw where it was heading then. You know, the industry is heading this way. Sadly, it didn't advance as fast as I thought it would, but it really needs to. We're in a situation now in this country where it really needs to. We need that alternative power, and not necessarily as a replacement for grid power, but as a supplement to offset energy use, so that the fuels that we purchase, power plants and otherwise, can be put to more effective use. I think right now every house in this country, everybody who owns a house who has a few dollars to spare, should purchase a small amount of solar and put it on their roof. You don't have to start expensively. Just, you know, get you a couple of panels, get you a charge controller and maybe a grid tie inverter, or get you an inverter that standalone, that you can devote a couple of circuits in your house to it for your lighter loads. You know, take those loads off of the grid. You know, you don't need Reliant, HL&P, or whoever to power your radio or your TV or, you know, your other items. They're good at powering your air conditioner and your refrigerator. Yeah, that's what you should use it for. But you'll find that it it cuts a huge percentage off of your electric bill just doing things like that, because it's the crap you use for entertainment that really draws over the long haul the bulk of your power. Air conditioners, they have a duty cycle, and refrigerators, yeah, they do their thing. But all those little switching power supplies and all that other crap that's in the entertainment stuff that you have, in your computers and stuff, that stuff sits in standby all the time. Put that stuff where you can control its use, and you will learn to control you will learn to regulate out the amount of power that you use, because you're going to find that power is not so infinite as you think. Flipping on that light, a lot of people don't realize the concept of just what they're using going through those until you have a finite amount of power that you have to regulate and control. Otherwise, you're sitting in the dark. Then you start to realize what goes into that generation of the power you're using. Power plants use a huge amount of fuel to give you that. You learn very quickly to optimize efficiency in many, many areas when you start going over to solar. Every watt counts. Watts equal time. The more watts you pull, the less time you have on your battery when it's dark. And even when it's light, because if you're exceeding what you're putting in, you're going to draw your battery down even in the day. So it's just like those guys that race those solar cars. They had to closely watch how much power their panels were putting out, how much they were drawing off their batteries while they were racing, because if they drew too much, they were sitting on the side of the road recharging. But that's one of the things. But it's a great way to offset your electric costs if you keep your demands down that are on it. And you can always size your array up. Start with a few panels. Panels can be added on in parallel. You start with 2 panels, pop another one on next month, and then another one on, and then another one on. By the time you've got 10 80-watt panels, just 800 watts. 800 watts is a lot of power. You don't think about it. 800 watts, look at the stuff in your house and the wattage it draws. Just your radios and your TVs and your lamps. 800 watts just on a circuit devoted to your lighting, which I actually had in my place. I had one circuit dedicated to running the lights only, and maybe 2 outlets, one either end of the house. You could run the heck out of lights. Even with 100 watts, you can run the heck out of lights. The average LED light draws about 6 watts for one that's 60 watt output incandescent. And even the little 1 watt Walmart LED lamps, they put out a lot of light, maybe as much as a 25 to a 30 watt bulb. So LED is the way to go. It's efficient. Or even CFs, you can keep your old CFs, but you're only going to get a certain amount of time out of them. Remember, watts equal hours. The more efficient you get, the more hours you get, and the smaller your battery has to be, and the smaller your array has to be. There's a lot of things there. But I do believe every house in this country should have some supplemental solar. It's needed. It's a survival thing. You have a natural disaster. If the thing's sitting there quietly charging a battery during the good times, you have that big battery you can switch over to when the power goes out. So it has a multitude of uses. So, if you give a crap about your well-being, go get you some panels and put them up. It's a little bit of a cost hurdle, but it gets you there. But in the next video, I'll go into things that I did and how I got into it, and what's going on with it in my place now, and I'll try to help you out with some advice from things that I've learned from experience that I can pass on. And that's the importance. That's the importance of making these videos, is the ability to pass some piece of knowledge on. Too many times it goes into a rant, and I apologize for that, but really what I want to do by these videos is try to give some education, or share some opinions. So in the next part, we'll start going into that, and hopefully this won't end up being a million parts, but who knows with the 10-minute limits we have here on YouTube. So, catch you soon, and have a good one.